I'm down. Right. Okay. That's good. Whatever. Again, relive my role as so far. All right.
Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the City of Kingston Historic Landmarks Preservation Commission meeting. My name is Suzanne Cahill. I'm the Planning Director for the City of Kingston. Today is November 2nd, 2023. We're here at City Hall in Conference Room 1. Just a couple of housekeeping rules before we get started. If you do have a cell phone, we just ask that you silence it so that we don't have interruptions during the meeting. If you do have to have any conversations outside of the commission meeting, please take them out into the chambers and have them outside of this room. If you do need a restroom, they're on the other side of the council chambers. Walk through. Women's is to your right, men's to the left. If there is an emergency, we ask that you do not use the elevator. If you need assistance, please ask. We'll use the stairs to go downstairs and exit out of the building. And with that, I'm going to start the meeting at 6:30 promptly. I'm going to introduce Chairman Mark Grumblatt of the HLPC, who will introduce the other members and proceed through the agenda.
Good evening, all. I'm Mark Grunblatt. I chair Historic Landmarks Preservation Commission. Thank you for coming out tonight. I'm going to ask members to introduce themselves. I'll start with you, Kevin.
I'm Kevin McAvoy. I'm a commissioner on this board.
Andrew Fuchs, the architect of the commission.
Excuse me. Eddie.
Nettie Romano, Commissioner.
Robert Connor, Commissioner.
All right, thank you. Has everyone had it?
And we also have Ethan Dickerman, who is the Historic Preservation Administrator for the City of Kingston.
All right. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes of last month's meeting? Are there any changes, additions, corrections that anyone would like to put forward? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Andrew Fuchs moved.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second, Nettie Romano.
Thank you, Nettie. That's fine. So you could note Robert's recusal. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Kevin?
Aye.
Andrea?
Aye.
Nettie?
Aye.
I also vote yes, and please note Robert. All right. First item up on the agenda, 93 Fair Street. Do we have folks here on that?
Yes.
Great.
Keith Baker, Aaron Carpenter.
Hi, do we need an extra chair? No,
No.
got it, okay.
Steve.
Hi.
You said Steve, right?
I'm Keith.
Keith. Sorry.
All right, we've got an entryway to look at.
Yeah, we have our original sketches, and I took the original, I take off on the original thing that was built there, and it was grossly damaged and kind of changed like throughout the 30s and 40s with plexiglass, and some modifications had been made to it. And the way it was designed, water had been getting in the transom and leaking down through the whole unit and got in and actually rotted the floor joist all the way to the foundation underneath.
Well, so it wasn't just the supports.
The whole thing was, really pretty punky. If I thought there was something I did restoration work up at the Hudson Opera House with Consigli and rebuilt all the 8/8 Opera House windows with the counterweights and the epoxy, and kind of brought all that stuff back to original. But there was just really nothing here that was not grossly altered, just through whoever, somebody that was renting it out and did repairs on it, and water had just been coming in for years and years and years. And
wow.
And so what I'm proposing is the same layout I changed a little bit of the proportion, and I got a side shot of this, allowing some water to wick off of under the transom and off the main sill, so, because it's right out there, there's no real overhang on it. So I wanted to build it out of like sapele, something that would be really weather resistant, bug resistant, rock resistant, like a mahogany, and I know that the original had only 5 panes. We could switch that. I think any odd number, would work. I was proposing a raised panel mahogany door for the front that was glass. It was like plexiglass or something they had put in the original that was kind of falling apart. It looked like a cheap repair that was done. The only reason I proposed a raised panel on the top, I've done a lot of farmhouse restorations and did these raised panels. They're quite secure. Like walking up to a front door and having a glass window doesn't feel like a good protector of, just for safety reasons. I mean, I increased the fields of glass to allow more light in, but kept the depth of it, just allowed for better weatherproofing. We'd come across the top with copper. What I feel about the house is just like let it fit in the neighborhood, let it, really come across with, the stucco that was on there was not original to the house. I don't know how old the pictures that are available for it, because when we got into it, there were clapboards and it was more of a colonial. So I kind of wanted to bring it back to, just simple, elegant elements that are proportionate to the size of the home, without getting gaudy, just a very simple pediment head with a oversized bed molding, copper caps on it, skirt boards, clapboards, which was most likely what the house was originally. I don't know when they added the stucco, but that was definitely not original.
Yeah, agreed.
So I did just a scaled sketch of the side view of the house and just some elements to kind of, bring it back to what it either should have been or probably was, without getting too gaudy.
Okay, well, can you go back to the door?
Yeah.
When you say you increase the field of glass,
By shrinking the stiles and rails down, we'll do a truly divided light, a transom and side lights that are up to today's energy standards, but would have that, well, I'm going to make everything from scratch. So I had custom knives made to, for this door. This will be like a unique period door. I'm not grabbing something from a lumber yard and, I'll, do the old weather stripping, like, the old school type of weather stripping.
So the glass panes are different. You've got more glass panes than
Yeah,
both sides and the top.
Well, what I did was we had these columns, okay?
Right.
So I played with the overall proportion. I kept the door the exact same size with, I shrunk down these columns just a little bit on this side to gain a little bit more light coming in to the house. The proportions the design was good, but I think the proportions were a little gaudy, a little off, a little bit, originally. I mean, the improvements can always be made on anybody's design in any period. This looks proportionate to me. I mean, the amount of panes could be busy. We can cut those down. I think as long as there's an odd number and there's a center pane in the middle of the transom, we can cut it down to 5 or 3, whatever.
I guess my concern is going to the fact that this was probably one of the last closest to original features of the house that was left.
Yeah.
After all this other work had been done. And so trying to keep as close to what that was, I think, is more in keeping with the Secretary of Interior standards, which is what this group is really trying to follow. So continuing, the same number of glass panes both
Sure.
along the top and along the sides, I think is important.
Okay.
I know, I understand what you're saying about proportions and maybe what might look better to your eye, but again, trying to keep to those proportions might be something we want to think about in terms of,
Yeah.
maintaining what our standards are. And this is a historic district, so
Yeah.
Secretary of Interior standards are important to us when we're looking at renovations and restorations.
Yeah, I'm really
So-
sensitive, I'm really on the
Okay.
same page with you guys, I value what you value. There's a picture of the spinning wheel inn, 240-year-old house, inn that I did restoration work on, I did work up at Hudson and recreated all the moldings, I rebuilt it in Bronxville, Union Free, library, and since 2018, I've probably worked on 8 houses that were over 200 years old. And like recreated front doors and match the existing moldings and
Right.
I really dig it, we don't make that much money. Us guys working with the wood, but it's always that labor of, wow, I created this and brought it back. Hudson Opera House was like a water damage disaster. And we like recreated all the wainscot and the doors and place looks fantastic now. So, that was definitely a real big, Consigli was involved in that. That was like a $20 million restoration up there. But no, I agree with you 100%. I didn't want it to be like a builder coming into a neighborhood and to flip a house, and making it this gaudy nightmare,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying what you designed was gaudy, but I just, I feel like, we have to respect the district and we have to kind of try and maintain that integrity and,
Sure.
so much has, been changed on this property for various reasons before Ryan, and we owned it as well.
Yeah.
So, kind of want to try and retain
my aim is
what
to-
we can.
Yeah, I agree. I want to impress you and make
Yeah.
you feel like, wow, this guy really did a good thing for our district and our town and brought this thing back to a former glory. We're not just trying to flip a house, at least I'm not. I want to go in there and really just make it as close to original as it can be.
You made some statements about the condition of the pre-existing doorway and framework. Did you, I know obviously you took a very close look at it. We didn't have the ability to do that. Did you do any documentation when you did that not to say that it's plexiglass or to show the actual rot or
Yeah, I wanted to-
water damage?
I didn't do a lot of documentation. I was
Okay.
kind of just going to advise him on if it was restorable or not,
Mhm.
if it was possible, and it just wasn't. If it wasn't for the couple things that were going to continue to let water in the house no matter what we did, there wasn't much there. It was really punky, and I've done some things that were really like rotted and put like epoxy stabilizers and it had been changed so much and there had been so much water leaking into the house that I didn't believe it would ever be right. Not just that I wanted to build a new front door. It was.
So that issue has been corrected? The water?
Well, the water now, well, it will be if we recreate this drawing I did is based on the layout of the original door. Other than there were 2 panels in the bottom here, and there was a plexiglass window in it, and it was it was really falling apart in every way, shape, and form.
So were the two, do you think, I can see where maybe the panel up above might have been replaced with plexi. Where the two panels though appear to be part of an original door?
Yeah, they were still cracked and.
No, right.
No, I get it.
What I'm saying is that maybe that should be
Maybe we should go
contained
with.
in a
Okay.
replication of those kind of features, I think.
Yeah, all right.
That's what I'm getting
I
at.
mean, I'm doing like a true raised panel. They were kind of a flat panel with an applied molding,
Mhm.
on the originals. We could do that too. Nothing's set in stone. I think we should use mahogany or something that's not gonna rot in terms of the wood species, but, if you like the two panels, I mean, you just, reconfigure that to that layout.
And what about hardware? Did you give thought to hardware?
I was gonna go with either something we got at a flea market that was period, or do some Baldwin or something that was, up to snuff, the high quality entry door. I usually use Baldwin brass, something nice with a big 4.5-inch solid brass hinges. I'm doing one in Beacon now where I just built all the interior doors for an old restoration we're doing up there.
Do you think there was a base under the columns originally and they rotted out?
The water was getting in from the top.
Right, so was it running
down
down?
inside the columns, and then got into the sill, rotted the sill, and then under the sill rotted the framing all the way down to the foundation. So underneath it, there was not even joist. It was like 6 inches back. It was.
So if there was something, I was able to see it from the street and it looked like it was floating almost.
There was nothing under there.
There was like nothing under there, and I was trying to understand whether the column would have just run down to the sill or whether there was some ornament there or not.
Yeah, we're gonna do the columns again, but I'm gonna put a pitched mahogany base. We're gonna put underneath that like a copper pan flashing that will go under the sill and then up behind it to protect the floor. So if water hits it, it would go in the pan and get diverted back out. And it had that cast front concrete porch. And a lot of homes, even homes that are 30 years old that have these cast things, tend to rot out. I don't know.
Okay, so Ethan's got it up behind you, a photo of it.
Yeah.
So on the side columns, there's no base to the columns on the side like there is at the top. Do you think that there was anything? I mean, would you?
I think that they were slightly oversized. What I'm not crazy about it is the way they kind of terminate this molding here and chop it. It looks, and it really cuts down on the size of this. What I had done was, I can't see the transom here because it's covered. I brought these just like 3 inches above the top of the door into the bottom of the transom shelf. So when water hits it, nothing's going to get in the top here. Maintained this line, just brought it up 3 inches taller and put a little molding, returned back onto this flat field up here rather than just being chopped square like that. And then water comes down, hits it and runs into it and gets into the house. It's just, you can have this look, and there's like a half column here. I brought them both. I shrunk this field a tiny bit to increase the size of the transom. So let's say this looks like it might be 4 inches. I think I'm 3.5, or maybe a ½ inch. And I brought this up, and then we'll have a molding like this underneath on both of the columns there. So we're maintaining that style and design, but just being a little smarter about it being out there without a porch in front of it, without a roof over it.
Okay, but and then down at the bottom, at the base, do you think they had molding there, or do you think that just went?
On my drawing, I did a very, like just a thin little base over, because I kind of thought it balanced out
Right.
the overall column look. So nothing too crazy, but just, a base that I can increase the field here on the stop and just return the base so that it's flush on both sides. It can terminate into the transom.
Did you ever see any indication though that there had been anything?
It's possible, but all this is
Easily gotten removed.
easily over 100 years. Anything it could have disintegrated, turned into dust and powder, for sure. But no, I mean, all the elements that are here, I'm going to put there. Just more solid, better wood. I don't know what this was made out of. I don't know if it could have been cypress or something they were building with back then. But there's a lot of lead paint issues, and there was just, if it was like this gorgeous brownstone or something that had this door that, it would make it all out of epoxy if we had to, make forms and stuff. There just wasn't, see how it's delaminating? It's not just paint peeling, like things are really, there just wasn't a lot left to salvage. Do you guys know where John Jay stayed when he came to Kingston? Does anybody know that? Does anybody know that John Jay came to Kingston during our Revolutionary War?
Okay.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, I have heard that, but I couldn't tell you where. It would be uptown.
Okay, so when the British came and they were burning down Danbury, Connecticut and coming up through, he went to Peekskill. And then he went up to Kingston, he ended up in Kingston and he wrote the New York State Constitution
Right.
here in Kingston.
Right.
So I just wondered if
Which
you
is up at, I think the reason I know this is there's a plaque next to our copy of it in the courthouse.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Because he was a state Supreme Court justice for
Yes.
decades.
yes, that's why John Jay Law School is named after him. Or
That's
the
awesome.
Law Criminal.
I was just wondering if you guys knew what
Justice
neighborhood
in the
where he
city.
might have stayed when he wrote the New York State Constitution.
I cannot tell you where.
You guys
No
want to know?
that I've ever
Well,
seen.
wait, we gotta research that. Though. That'd be really cool to know.
All
I
right.
was thinking, the reason I asked is I was thinking it could be here. I was thinking it might be this house, that's why I'm asking.
It seems unlikely.
Corner lot, you know.
I know if it wasn't that house, it was something else there, I'm sure. But, Bogart's Tavern is about 3 blocks, yeah.
Yeah,
Could be.
That, if there was any spot uptown that was likely to host them, that might have been it.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm sure it's written somewhere.
Yeah. That's that's my best guess. That seemed to be the fancy place.
So it looks like there's 5 here, so, we'll just go from
Yeah,
7
5
to
would be-
5.
That seems sensible, and you're okay with the idea of 1/2 kind of design?
If you want glass in the top, would you guys like a truly divided light, like French door type of thing?
I'm not asking for glass per se.
Per se.
Because I can't tell.
We could do like a 2 over, we could do a
That
2 over.
that
2,
opening. 2/2? Yeah, that would be more typical for the time.
Yeah, maybe we can do like, I can make an applied mold and get, the cutters made for this and run like a mahogany panel and then do like just 2 matching, do like a 9-inch bottom rail, say 7.5 and a 5 1/4 on the top would be proportionate.
Yeah, that would seem to me to be in keeping. Does anyone else have any thoughts? Okay.
That's easy enough to do.
All right. Any other questions for Keith or Ryan?
I would say that what we would like is though a revised drawing of actually what you will
Want to do a shop
build,
drawing? Okay.
right? You will construct,
Okay.
submitted to staff before you start building,
Okay. How do you guys feel about
confirm that.
the overall like motif that I sketched here, with the house, just style wise? There's nothing oversized. Even the corner boards I'm putting on here are only 8 inches wide. They're not
I
upgraded.
remember this discussion a little.
We had that last month and we
Okay.
denied those.
Denied.
Because they weren't original. We had no documentation that there ever were anything like that
Okay.
on the house. So there was a denial issue for that as well as for the corbels that were
Okay.
requested.
There's like a 5-inch field then? Okay.
Yeah, that was denied. There is a hardship appeal process that Ryan can pursue if he wants.
Okay.
That's your option. There's documentation in the code as to how that is pursued. You're entitled to do that. You can request that tonight, ask the commission if they'll accept a hardship, but hardship has got to be basically the applicant whose preservation notice of action for proposed demolition or alteration has been denied may apply for relief on the grounds of hardship. The hardship shall not be self-inflicted.
Okay.
In order to prove existence of hardship, the applicant shall establish that one, the property is incapable of earning a reasonable return regardless of whether that return represents the most profitable return possible. That's not applicable in a
Yeah.
design type of feature. The property cannot be adapted for any other use, whether by the current owner, so obviously that's not applicable to a design issue.
Okay.
Efforts to find a purchaser interested in acquiring the property and preserving it have failed. I don't think that's an issue here as well, because Brian is not looking to sell the property. So the question becomes, is the hardship not self-inflicted? And Ryan, in your email, said that you had those made. You jumped the gun, you admitted that. So it really is a self-inflicted hardship. So my recommendation would be that the commission continue that denial at this stage. And if that's what happens, then your option is to go to the zoning board of appeals and appeal the denial.
Okay.
It's up to you.
So that was dealt with already, but we can, I think, focus in on this design for the entryway because everyone wants this buttoned up as quick as we can. This is not the time of year to let this thing.
Well, I also need to do the corners.
Well, for siding reasons, if we're gonna go with a clapboard design, we're gonna have to have a corner board of some sort.
Okay.
And
What would you be proposing? I think what we had talked about was sort of columnar. It was a fairly fancy design, if I'm remembering right. So what is different about what you're proposing now?
all we have is an 8-inch wide board with some 1/2-inch, just like a little recessed panel, no moldings, no craziness. At the top is a small bed molding capital that goes under the freeze board.
Right, see, but if you look behind you where it's been exposed, there is none of that. I mean, you've got corner pieces going up, but there's no decoration, there's no decorative element, and that's what was proposed.
Okay.
So clapboard siding, the siding was approved.
Okay.
We're just suggesting maintaining the original appearance of the current corner guard. If you need to fatten it up for the sake of new, let me revise that, not fatten it, but increase the depth if you need to make it 5/4 instead of 1 for the new clapboard. I don't have a problem with that, but increasing the width of the corner boards to 8 when they're currently something more like 3 or 4,
Okay.
that doesn't seem to make sense.
How do you guys feel about a 1.25 by say 4.25 window trim with a small pediment head with a copper cap on the first floor windows and a window trim with a 1.5 sill going up to the freeze board?
Yeah, you should make a new application, you're gonna bring those additional items to you.
Well, I am concerned about letting this go another month. Yeah, this is the wrong time of year to
Well, it's, I mean,
put off something that
siding
buttons
is
up the house.
approved, they're talking about decorative elements.
Well, the corner board, I think is,
I've pictured it if you guys want to, because they're already made, I mean.
He has some of the details drawn here. I don't think they're, out of the realm of typical at all. I think they're in keeping with a lot of what's going on with the house itself. Just the corner boards, I think, is the thing that makes it a little.
I think the drawing maybe makes them look a little bigger than they are. The house is not really big. They're 8 inches across.
I mean, I think your proportions aren't wrong, given what you have for trim around the exterior of the window. So they do appear much fatter than.
You see, this is the exact window trim I'm proposing.
Yeah, no, I don't have an issue with that, but it's the corner. Again, my issue is with the corner. I think the corner, the way that they are here, makes more sense.
Yeah, to me, this is my personal opinion. It looks really out of proportion.
I'm completely understand you. It's not so much what seems like it's out of proportion. It has more to do with what's currently there, existing fabric. And that to us on our board is what's important to us.
I just have a question. What if I propose the corner boards on day 1 when there was all paint stucco? Because this was never, there's no record of this other than my photo. The oldest photo that's on record at the tax assessor is a black and white photo of old stucco. So if I propose these corner boards on day 1, doing a good thing for the neighborhood, ripping the stucco off, what would that outcome have been? Because you go around the neighborhood and there are.
we might have asked what's underneath the stucco before we approved it.
Revealing the original material would have been a determining factor.
Can we show you photographs of the corner boards that are made, just to get your opinion on it? We're kind of just in a shop on a bench, and it's hard to really tell the proportion of it. This is a small capital. That's like 2 1/8 inch wide, it's 8 inches overall. And they're primed up.
I maintain my original opinion.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else wants to see. Can I pass this to them?
This hardship thing going, because this house is literally made me broke. So, like, it's been the most stressful year of my life. It's truly, like,
I just did a kitchen and it killed me, so I get
when
it.
I wasn't planning on taking the stucco off, so a $200,000 round was more like 500. I'm trying to do it right, but I'm not.
Right, we get that, and we're grateful. We're just trying to take a really long view.
Right.
That's kind of our charge.
Have you been-
And so that's what and we appreciate, honestly, this has come a long way from the pink stucco that we remember.
Yeah.
And we are grateful.
We actually ripped all these things. We slowly ripped them out and slowly rebuilt those.
No, I think the other details, other than the added brackets up in the frieze.
Yeah, it's only 5 inches up there, so there's not a whole lot of.
Yeah, no, the trim itself, I think is fine, we maintain that, the brackets and the corner boards are the only thing I have.
Okay, so what size would you like them to be? I would say the smallest corner boards I've seen,
Probably
Or like-
5.
5.5, like
Yeah.
5 by 6.
I think that, the proportion of that makes more sense to me than 8.
Okay.
And no additional reveal or panel, just simple straight line. Much like it is again right now.
All right, so focusing in on the proposal on the entryway first. I think we're agreed that five glass panels is closer to what we're aware of as being historical than the 7, so that seems agreeable. We're talking a 2/2 panel on the front door as
Yeah, with applied molding.
yeah, that would be great.
So, and then on the top, the same number of
Glass
fancy
panel,
lights on the top?
Yeah, we'll go 5 and 5, yeah.
5, 5, and 5.
That's right.
Five.
Yeah.
Let's see. The window treatment,
As proposed.
as proposed, and how should I describe that?
You had a very good description.
It's a pediment head with an oversized bed molding as like a mini crown. I actually have a picture of the one I did at the spinning wheel in, which is pretty much the same. It's hard because it's monochromatic to see it, but it's
I like it.
It's got a copper hat. This is like a little 150-year-old building.
Okay. Can we hang on to a copy of that so we can make reference to it?
Yeah, there's the window trim for the.
Give a whole digital file, a Google Drive file, all the photos.
Oh, we've already submitted a copy? Is that what I heard?
I have like albums for all these different projects I've worked on.
Okay. So you described it as a, there's the window trim, pediment head.
These windows
Brown and copper. I think he called it that.
Yeah, I think he did.
Which is not,
Which is the old library. Rebuild.
I'm gonna add
It's like 420.
that you guys have, take a look
Yeah.
through the detail.
Okay.
I think that,
And then we want to trim, you said 5 inch?
Five, 5.5 is the typical.
yeah, approximately 5, it may,
Yeah, they're usually 5.5 by 5.5, just
Sounds right.
standard lumber size.
sound right.
With no, no,
Straight line, you
straight, with straight one. Okay.
No skirt board?
down at the base
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it,
here.
like a 7-inch skirt.
Can you go back to the assistant photo, Ethan?
yep, he just did. Wow, yeah, tough to tell if there was ever anything there.
It was funny because I
We need-
was proposing bringing
It
trees
seems to be,
around that gable and then doing a mini copper roof there and kind of dividing the upper section of the gable. I know it's not original up there. Now, like if you look at that side, it's just
Straight.
rotted out and straight.
Again, I think I default to maintaining most of what was original. I would not subdivide that line there. Skirt board, I mean, I think that could go either direction. I don't think that's unusual to have for, especially down below the sill of the door.
Yeah,
If you maintain
I like to
that.
drop everything like an inch below the plate.
Yeah, so
So
what
for
we're,
water reasons.
what we're talking about is having basically a trim board that runs around the exterior.
Starts the first course of siding with like a
Right.
flashing.
that sounds like something we've seen before.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so I think it,
It's a simple detail. Again, I don't think it needs to have any kind of additional molding or paneling or anything. The straight line as you have it drawn is sufficient.
okay.
Just for my own knowledge, I live across the street at the Ballerman's house, Don and Judy's house, and that front is definitely not like original. How come that they weren't? How come they didn't have to preserve their front? Like, and like, they clearly changed that entire front. And like, why?
Okay,
I'm just like-
I think I may be the only one who was on the board when they appeared. This is probably 7 to 12 years ago. They, if I remember correctly, came in with architectural drawings from the original design that we don't have to go by here. Some of what they changed, if my memory is correct, was backed up with documentation. They were able to find, I think, at Friends of Historic Kingston, the architect's plans that applied to their house. If I'm remembering their case specifically, I know there are 3 or 4 that were able to find their original plans at Friends of Historic Kingston, and I'm pretty sure they were one of them. So that may be why things got changed, because they were noted in the original plans and had been taken off. So they were going back to what was really the earliest. And that's a problem we have uptown. Things, tastes change. People wanted simpler, people wanted fancier at various points in the centuries that uptown Kingston has survived. And I think that they were one of the folks who were able to find documentation at Friends of Historic Kingston that supported the changes they were making. Except maybe, were they the guys with the funky, they use it as a bike shed on one side of the building? Yeah, I'm trying to remember details. This is a long time ago. Yeah,
But
so,
then like, what about like uptown, like some of the buildings have these crazy colors and murals, like how does that stuff get passed?
that is a First Amendment problem. Art. Having a,
Why- why-
having
why-
a,
why-
if you wanted to put, if you went to O positive and they worked this out with the city, that the murals are supported for 3 years and are maintained as is for 3 years. And after that, it's up to the building owner whether they want to keep it or not. And the arrangement, we had a long negotiation with O positive when they started doing this. The first couple were touch and go. We looked into the politics of a government trying to regulate art is a real First Amendment issue. And so as long as it's not hurting the building, we've taught them to be really careful about the types of paint they use, and it's clear who is supposed to maintain this over time, and they're not forever. It's 3 years, which from our perspective is a blink. We have to think in terms of decades and centuries.
It seemed like the neighborhood had, most of the homes had a fair amount of embellishments, like
You're absolutely right. There's a lot of Italianate stuff up there.
a real lot. So
Yeah, and this is not,
we're gonna
the
look like,
same.
we're gonna look like, well, we're a corner lot trying to like, sell in that neighborhood for, we're a premium, and we're like a farmhouse colonial that was out in the woods somewhere.
and maybe that was its history. I can't, that could have been how this house started. You're outside the
It
original
reminds me
stockade.
of like, I did some farmhouses in South Barry, Connecticut that were just all red, just one monochromatic color. And, and they were nice.
Yeah, I know I'm fighting your instinct to kind of gussy it up to fit the neighborhood, but the
A little
neighborhood
bit.
is not
Yeah.
uniform. Almost nothing uptown is, much of uptown, the next door neighbor is 150 years earlier or later.
Yeah.
That's the nature of what we got here. And that is part of the fabric of Kingston. And our job is to carry that into the future as safely and cleanly as we can.
Yeah.
And so I know we're fighting a tendency to look around and presume that your history matches everyone else's. And in Uptown in particular, that's rarely the case. More often down in the Rondout, a lot of things are 1880 to 1920. That's like a baseline you can count on. Uptown, you got everything from 1650 to 1960. And so it's,
We have to move, please.
okay,
We've got
sorry.
a garage door on here too, the garage doors he's asking about too, so I don't want to.
Okay, so let's keep, I'm sorry. I can go on for a while. Thank you. All right, so garage door you want, I'm not sure what the question is.
Oh, yeah,
Based on the garage door.
Is a new garage door, from the landmark series of, sorry. Got the name of the company, but it's the landmark series, it's the same, amount of windows, same style. I picked the door as closed as possible. The only difference, it's gonna be that exact door. Can't, not great, great photo, but it's the same exact style door, look of door, it's just gonna be black.
Okay, so it'd be painted,
Black. Right?
yeah. I'm hearing the rolling stone. All right,
Would that be gloss, semi-gloss, flat?
No, it would be
Eggshell?
gloss.
That would be flat.
Probably like any kind of trim, like a eggshell or.
Yeah, okay.
It comes, I'll have to look, but it comes,
Yeah.
So what's the material?
It's not-
like-
Is it clad or is it wood?
it's metal.
Oh, it's like
It's a
aluminum-
metal?
Aluminum clad.
So which panel choice are you going with up there?
black, looks like the second one in from
Yeah.
the left.
The recessed Smooth ranch. No,
Plank?
That's,
No, the third one in on the bottom, that one there.
yeah.
that looks like my corner board.
Lisa's Smooth Ranch.
That looks like my corner.
Yeah, the whole catalog is the one that. resembles it.
And the window panes are gonna be,
I did the
Divided.
grills, so the grills are optional. I was gonna add the grills because I thought it goes well with all the other grills in the house, but I can be with it without. I don't know if it had, they're currently wood over where the windows were, so I don't know if it had grills or not. I thought it goes with the other grills, but I'm indifferent.
the existing garage.
The existing, it's impossible to tell.
Yeah.
So whatever you guys want.
All right, that got detailed. All right,
There it is.
any other details that need our
It's definitely
attention?
not the original, like, the whole
Yeah.
garage. wasn't,
Yeah.
but-
I'm less worried about that particular detail. It's obviously an anachronism no matter what we do.
Okay. Do see.
All right, any other portions that need to be dealt with tonight?
So,
Hearing none, I'm going to entertain a motion that we declare this a type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act.
So,
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Kevin?
Aye.
Andrea? Nettie?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
I also vote yes. I need to adapt the piano way.
Want me to try I did my scribbles, so.
I think I can manage that, and, okay. I hereby move that our commission find as fact that the proposed replacement of the Greek Revival entrance and garage door at 93 Fair Street in the Fair Street Historic District by applicant Ryan Arquette, if done according to the plans reviewed at this meeting and according to the procedures stipulated in section 405-26 of the City of Kingston's form-based zoning code, is compatible with the historic character of the district, noting the following reasons, conditions, and limitations. The proposed work is to take place at the 2.5-story frame Greek Revival single-family dwelling built circa 1860, which is located at the northwestern corner of the intersection of Fair and Franklin Streets. Let's see, applicant was unable to meet HLPC's October 5th, 2013 request to provide information on the whereabouts of the Greek Revival front entryway and door, which was removed without review by the HLPC. Right. And the replacement entrance and door should follow the Secretary of Interior's guidelines for reconstruction, to produce a replica of the original entrance and door, including but not limited to types of wood, dimensions, trim details, number and size of transom lights, doors, paneling, and any other feature identifiable from surviving photographs. Let's see. In addition, we are approving window trim with pediment heads
On the
and
first floor.
crown and a copper hat
on the first floor.
on the first floor as presented in photographs to us this evening. The existing wooden and glass garage door facing Franklin Street is badly degraded and requires replacement and will be replaced with a new door. Let's see the details here. It to be painted black with divided lights.
There in the things.
You got that? Oh,
Yeah, so it's right there.
Okay, with the Richards Wilcox Classic L 138 from their landmark series in black with divided lights and recessed smooth, help me out, branch?
Plank.
Plank paneling, correct? Thank you. Corner trim to be 5 or 5.5 inches with straight edges and straight lines. Let's see, skirt board around base, again, straight lines. I think that is everything we covered. That sounds right to me.
Drawings, but then we have the.
So we're putting a freeze board around the top second floor windows up to the soffits, replacing the rake molding and putting a bed molding up against the rake soffits. Makes sense?
Oh, as you showed in your drawing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I do have it in here too, all work to be submitted and revised drawings to staff for review and approval before any work is initiated. I'd like to ask Andrea, as the architect, if you'd also take a look at the final drawings that come through just before we sign off. Sure. I have that in there as well.
Yes, and I will adopt that as an amendment. Okay. Any further, first, do I hear a second?
Say.
Did I just use first and second in the same sentence? Yeah, that's confusing. All right. Nettie wins, yeah, all right.
There's a side door on the gable end going into the kitchen area that we were thinking about putting a small roof portico with some just as some kind of weather protection above the side door.
That's the one facing Franklin?
Yeah, just pretty simple.
Okay.
That door, yeah, just above the
so
door.
it's that, again, I can understand it and I would.
Was there anything there previously?
They're like a metal awning.
Yeah, someone, we're really moving on here.
I would ask that detail be submitted to staff before construction as well. That way, I think it, from my point of view, is an improvement over a metal awning. And therefore, I would, as long as the design is relatively simple, tend to agree, and I'm going to trust you, Andrea, and staff to go into any.
It's not totally necessary. We could have put a pediment head in copper above it,
I mean,
like the windows. I mean,
there is conceivably some code precedent for wanting to have an overhang over the door.
okay.
Yeah, so I can double check that, but I mean, I feel more comfortable building department double checking me on that too. So
Okay.
if you wouldn't mind giving them a ring.
Yep.
All right, so I am going to adopt that as an amendment here. Side door. Pediment is the right term, you'd think, for what?
A portico. Yeah.
Portico in place of metal. All right. Having accepted an amendment, I need to my motion, I need a second on the amendment.
Andrew, so
Thank you. Well, that's actually a second. Can I accept that as a second?
yes.
All right. Robert's rules.
Yes.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Just one question. What was the basis or documentation for the date of 1860? The assessor's records, if you look at the cards, say effective date 1895. Now that could have been something was done between 1860 and 1895. I'm just wondering, that's a fairly long stretch of years there.
Is it off a particular map? I can't tell from the notes.
I have to research all that. I don't know how to-
Are you familiar?
Yeah, I would have to look back.
Okay. And it could also be that something was there in 1960 and 1860 and greatly altered or.
Maybe it says corner board.
right, we check that out.
1895.
All right, I don't think that requires an amendment.
That's from the source from the.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, so I have a motion and an amendment on the floor. Is there any further discussion? All right. I will then call the roll. Kevin,
Aye.
Andrea,
Aye.
Nettie,
Aye.
Robert. I also vote yes. Thank you very much for bringing us all these details.
No, great, my pleasure. And find out about John Jay.
I looked it up for you. Spoonmaker does not give us a definitive answer.
Because he was in Peekskill and he got driven out of Peekskill.
Yeah.
They wrote the New York State Constitution here.
That's right.
Yes. And I know the Senate House likes to claim it, but I don't think we've got an absolute on that. That's for where he
Would have
stays.
been the assembly.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. That came later.
He started a journal at Homestead.
But it was all 1777.
All right. Moving right along, 18 Livingston Street. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Hi there. If you'd introduce yourselves for the record and give us a quick overview of what you're planning. Yeah, get comfy.
So I've been staying, I've sat 3 hours on the way up here, and an hour now waiting, so it's cool.
Yeah, all right. Be comfortable. That's important.
Okay, so I know the atonement, I know.
My name is Jan Burgess, I'm part of the contracting company, Infinity Solar Systems. We're gonna install 15 rooftop, solar panels, and, we're gonna re-roof the house to fix the roof. Pretty straightforward. I know a diagram was requested of a mock-up of wiring. I can't, in the one line, you can see that all the wires, enter through the solar decks, which enter through a penetration into the attic, are run directly out through the side of the wall to the existing utility meter where it is. Minimal conduit exposed, minimum wire runs on the exterior.
The other question we have is in the new code that was adopted, all utility, exterior utilities installations have to be, screened if they're on the side of the building.
This is a roof mounted system.
Right, but your panels are all to the side. Is there, I think that was where the question comes in. So your, your panels, your disconnect box are on the side of the building, right?
Yes,
Okay, so they're down at street level.
on the side of the house, yeah.
Right, okay. Is there any, and are they capable of being like painted to match the building, to try and blend them in and make them as invisible as possible?
To paint the solar panels?
No, the side, not solar panels on the roof. I'm talking about what's on the side of the building down below, your disconnect
So
boxes.
balance the system, that I can't answer for you off the top of my
Okay.
head, I'd have to look into fire code. Usually they want everything pretty obvious and well
Yeah.
labeled, so they know exactly what they're dealing with in case of an emergency.
Right,
So I would definitely, I can't answer that question for you here today, I would have to look into
Okay.
the code and stuff.
all right. Because there is a requirement in the code to screen them as best possible. So we want to look at, ways to possibly just make them kind of disappear from.
Some kind of like obstructive barrier. or something
Yeah,
like
I
that.
mean, it could be a simple bush is put in front, and, they just walk around the bush and then they're there. I mean, it's as simple as that. That's a
We could
homeowner.
probably manage to push it.
Yeah, but that's. Yeah. That would be the only thing.
As long as it's not a fire hazard somehow.
Yeah, that's the only thing I would say is just to make sure that it's within the distance that the fire department allows and then we can put a bush in.
Yeah, I believe that there is a walkway along that side, so we do want to be, conscious of that. But we have to do whatever we can.
Okay. If you want to come up with something, just shoot us an email. I think we can do that at desk level.
Yeah,
All right.
I would be comfortable with that.
Okay.
Really nice, really nice.
Yeah.
It is, yes.
A lot of work or no?
It's That would be an understatement. I don't come from Manhattan. I'm doing my best with the house. It's a lot. And I know that you guys have been super patient with us, just trying to do what we can as, a 6-person family, with a normal income, trying to take care of a house like this. So I appreciate it.
And bring it back. I mean, that's the joy.
Whatever we can do.
All right. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to declare this a type 2 action under seeker.
Motion.
Second, Robert.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Kevin?
Aye.
Andrea?
Aye.
Nettie?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
I also vote yes. I move that the commission find as fact that the proposed installation of a rooftop solar system at 18 Livingston Street in the Chestnut Street Historic District by Infinity Solar Systems of Jan Burgess on behalf of Elliot and Brittany Toman, if it's done according to the plans reviewed at this meeting and according to the procedures stipulated in section 405-64 of the City of Kingston's form-based code, is compatible with the historic character of the district for the following reasons. The proposed work is to take place at the 2.5-story, 2-bay Victorian house located on the eastern side of Livingston Street, adjacent to the house of Emmanuel Evangelical Lutheran Church, which according to the September 21st, 1982 building structure inventory form, quote, was constructed circa 1885 and was apparently meant for weathering and has never been painted. And that, quote, there seems to be no other houses like this in the Kingston area. The house was built for Guilford Hasbrook, who owned a boot and shoe business in the Rondout. Guilford was the brother of Jansen Hasbrook Jr., who lived on West Chestnut Street, and Conrad Hasbrook, who lived on Stuyvesant Street, all grandsons of Abraham Hasbrook, the farmer whose lands were subdivided and developed into the Rondout after completion of the Delaware and Hudson Canal. That the applicant shall install 15 rooftop solar panels on 2 southward-facing roofs, which will total 1.150 kilowatts, with the southernmost roof carrying 12 of the 15 panels and the northernmost roof outlined in plans carrying 3 panels. Roof was evaluated by Michael Edward Maley, State of New York licensed professional engineer, who determined that the roof is capable of carrying the new static load created by the solar installation. That any lines running from the roof to the combiner and disconnect panels shall be treated to match the color of the existing facade. That combiner and disconnect shall be screened by shrubbery or fencing per section 405-14. Is that
Aye.
through?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. I-5 of the zoning code, or a minor waiver will be required under the new form-based code procedure and to be reviewed by staff. So when you're ready to put that in, give them the details. Thanks. Any changes or additions to the plans that are work specifically described and outlined in the submitted application will be subject to further review by our commission prior to that work being carried out. The commission's approval does not obviate the need for a building permit from the City of Kingston's Building Safety Division or any other required approvals from relevant coordinating agencies. Based on the preceding findings of fact, it is proposed that our commission grant a preservation notice of action to the above-referenced applicant for the work as described herein and in their application to the commission, such notice to be subject to the conditions contained in the foregoing motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Robert. Any further discussion?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Did I hear correctly that as of 1982, it had never been painted?
That's what they say.
Wow. What do you make of that?
Terrible decision.
This is cedar cedar shingle siding is what I'm trying to say. I
That's
would
actually
assume
not that
that-
terrible.
Yeah,
Cedar, yeah.
is it meant to be weathered
It is a highly
Yeah.
weather resistant material, yeah.
Yeah,
I
so-
mean, tons of homes down in like the, beach areas, they're all.
I've noticed that,
Yeah,
yeah.
Massachusetts coast.
Yeah.
So if, I don't want to take too much time, but if I were to, in the future, scrape the paint off and not repaint it, would that be a good idea architecturally? You're saying no with your face.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would consider doing replacement of shake at that point. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. It depends on the condition.
It's not a,
That sounds like a
it's,
good job.
it's a softer wood.
Yeah,
It is,
generally, if
too.
you started painting wood, you would probably want to continue to paint wood.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing, there's a motion on the floor, it's been seconded, and hearing no further discussion, I'll call the roll. Kevin? Andrea?
Aye.
Nettie?
Aye.
Robert? I also vote yes. All right, thank you for making the trek.
Oh, no, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys, how much you care about the history of this place. It's amazing. You don't get much stuff like that in New Jersey, bro.
Welcome to Kingston. You know, we go back to the 1600s, we pay
I'm
attention.
actually a little bit down in Morris County.
Oh, our Morristown, I mean, that's.
That's Morris Town, I'm in the woods on the outskirts of the woods.
That's historic.
Hi there.
Oh, yeah. Not as interesting as you guys. Not as interesting as you guys, for sure. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. Get home safely.
Okay.
Hi, so I've got my neighbor and friend Dennis on the phone with me. He's watching on the YouTube, and I've got all these new chairs don't fit my butt.
Here you go.
All right.
Give us a quick overview.
Okay, Dennis, can you hear us? Oh, let me turn this up. Oh, I turned it down because, hold on a second. So, oh, you've got the, all right. Can you hear me now? Huh. Oh, wrong button. Gonna use this phone. Okay, awesome. All right, so that's Dennis. And Dennis is much more versed at details like lumber and even codes and such than I am. And he's helping me with this project as a friend and neighbor, put it together. So this is the porch, and I basically found it in this book. Villages and Cottages, the Great Architectural Style Book of the Hudson River School by Calvert Vaux. So you can see that one of the pictures there, there were a few versions of the railing that had the X's. I don't know what that top part is, the little details in the corner, the top of the porch. It's a piece, a bracket. The brackets, this was the simpler of the two brackets with this porch. And you can see the roof of the porch is similar to mine. My porch roof goes out a little bit more. I think originally the roof on my porch was probably out farther. It probably got cut off because of like the built-in gutters getting rotten or something. But my porch is sinking into the ground, and it's got a like metal feet that it was on, and they're rusted away, and it's lower on the right side now, and it's starting to come away from the building, and so the way that it is now, you can see the so I was here before to get paint colors done when I was preparing to take off my vinyl siding. The vinyl siding's up. This is not the paint. This is just the primer. And I can't remember what we planned on, but they weren't listening to me, the people who did this. So they just primed this as though that were anyway, the colors, you have the records for the colors. But this is not the colors, this is primers. But you do have in the records the colors to give it a better idea of what it will look like. And you can see how it was, what it was a shakes. It was cedar shakes or some kind of shakes. And the existing columns are a little bit tapered on the bottom, but very slightly. And but this is all rotten when the vinyl came down, and the columns are not in good shape. And it was put on much later. There's a postcard in your packet showing the Lutheran church next door. And if you look really closely or you zoom it up on your phones, you can see my house, and you can see that it didn't have a porch originally. It had this little roof over the door, and then a slightly curved bracket. Very simple, but kind of town, like less cottagey, more in town sort of style. There were corbels up at the top, and I can still see the shadow of the corbels. They got taken off probably when the vinyl siding got put on, but I can see where they are. Someday I'm gonna get it together. I found a source for making corbels, and so someday I'll put corbels up there. But this porch railing, building safety said I needed a railing. The original idea that I had was to have no railing so that I could really feature the original portion of the house and downplay the newer addition. But building safety said I needed a railing, and so what I figure is that this style railing, it's sort of the Hudson River area. However, this is the book that the McKenty Artist Cottage is from this book. And I like that it's sort of a graphic sort of detail, which maybe would go well with a like in-town house. But it's also a very, it's like almost across the street there's a Carpenter Gothic house. This is a little more modest than the Carpenter Gothic house. I'd like to keep it simple. And yeah, I don't know if I'm forgetting any other details. The porch is, and Dennis chime in, I just figure out front load the information, but yeah.
Yeah, so just so the panel knows, my name's Dennis O'Shea. I live on Adams Street or Roger Street in Adams. I also own the house at 24 Adams Street and just did a porch renovation. And I think that's why Tanya has, she approached me when she saw me doing the work, which by the way passed inspection and also approval from your guys' panel. Essentially, Tanya's porch is in an active state of collapse. The girders are completely rotted away. It's really just kind of holding on by a thread at this point, So she basically needs 4 new footings, 4 feet deep with the Bigfoot sonotubes. She needs a triple 2x8 pressure-treated girder and support the existing structural, the framing of the building, all of which will be out of sight, it'll all be behind, her shrubbery and whatnot. So none of that will be seen. And then footprint of the dwelling, footprint of the porch, the height of the porch, roof line stays the same, all that gets saved. There will be, the new columns, which will be 6x6 and then wrapped with nice prime pine. Initially, she did want to leave the wall open. Currently there was an older knee wall, typical of the 50s, 60s type construction. She wants to do away with that. Building and safety apparently now wants a railing, which I'm surprised they even asked for a railing because it's not even more than 18 inches, so I'm surprised that they've asked for a railing. I haven't really explored that.
Dennis,
Yes.
Dennis, can I interrupt you? So that's important, what you just said, because we've had some discussion with building safety. So from grade to the porch base, to the porch floor, that's 18 inches, you said?
I'll be honest with you, I unfortunately had to leave town, not leave town in bed, we had to this meeting, it's nothing real bad. I don't know exactly what that.
I measured it.
So I think it's maybe 14 inches plus a thread. I don't
Yeah.
think it's 18.
I measured it right before I got here, and the higher end of the porch is 22 inches high.
Okay, that's a big number because the railings kick in at 30 inches.
Yeah.
By code. So if we can get a actual, like just a picture with a measurement, a measuring tape sitting right next to it and shows that at the highest point, it's less than 30 inches, then you don't have to put a railing up.
Okay. So
And
my suggestion is if if it's okay, to let us start the project, get the place stable, get the footings in, get the girder in, stabilize, the flooring. Like I said, none of that's changing. And then at that point, we can always add railing later. I mean, that's, pretty much a simple thing to do. And then we can talk about the type of railing. I see the railing that Tanya was looking at. She sent me a picture of that. I don't think that would pass inspection by the building department because
It does.
It's gap of 4 inches or greater.
You can with a historic property.
Okay.
There's a historic exemption section to the one portion of the code, so.
All right, so you guys are more so the authority then, as far as that goes, and I think that is, guys, I'm not a contractor, I'm just a guy that owns a couple of old houses in the round out, and been, fumbling my way through the process and learning as I go, and so, I appreciate it, I appreciate the knowledge.
So what do you think about approving me for doing it incrementally? Like, could we approve me if you like it, assuming that you end up liking this idea for the railings? Allow me to do the first step, which would just be where those pillars are, everything as it is but the bare. To start with that, and then if the contractor has time and if we agree on the price and if he wants to do the railing, then we do this railing. So if you approve
If it ends up after he basically removes everything and reconstructs and creates a solid foundation, and that stays below the 30, then.
I don't need the railing,
You
yeah.
don't need the railing, and then that's fine.
Right.
But if it does end up with, once he, reinforces everything, puts footings in, and it raises up a little, I mean, I don't know if it's gonna raise up that high, I would.
No, it's
Yeah,
not the
it's
same.
gonna raise up because we still have the front door.
Yeah, exactly, so I think it's gonna be fine.
Yeah,
And
it's
then you can decide at that point in time if you want the railing or not.
Yeah, so what I want to do is I want to have both approved because I don't want a gap in time of having to come back again.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm good.
Do you have any questions about the details of the idea of the railing or any of that?
It's pretty simple and straightforward. The material of the stairs, the treads,
Wood,
right, pressure treated,
Yeah,
will it be painted?
yeah.
Yeah, so my understanding is, so what she has now is common groove, Doug fir, and I believe that the goal is to try to salvage that and maybe piece in a couple of new pieces as necessary, and it is already painted, so it would just get painted again. If it cannot be salvaged, because time we start jacking stuff up, some of the tongue groove starts to buckle. My thought was that she would go back with, a 5/4 pressure treated, decking,
Painted to match the present color?
and then painted, yes.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions from a member?
Would it be painted to match the present color or the colors that you had previously approved?
Whatever I had previously approved, yeah. I can't remember anymore because it's been so.
That we can reference.
Yeah, I know the door is the Deneems, and that's actually the door is painted the agreed on color, but everything else isn't painted yet, but yeah. So I don't remember if I said it was gonna be Deneems or gonna be the same as, this is just like, that color is, porch color, that, the bucket that says porch paint. It's not the red.
Bucket says portrait.
I get a question, if you don't do the railing, or the columns, yes, thank you, and that detail, is that gonna stay?
So if,
Bracket?
the brackets, I think
You
it,
just have the column.
they're a pair, but the columns will be where they are, so that if I decide in the future, like maybe when I put the corbels on, I'm like, oh, now I'm gonna really do it up, I would have the columns ready for that possibility in the future. Either.
So we're talking the little diagonals that we're looking at.
Yeah, and they have it in that picture. The way that they did it in this picture is, see how it's like, it's one piece inset. It's not just pieces of wood put in the corner. It's more of its own sort of curtainy effect, sort of, that makes it's
Right.
like there's a
Yeah.
top piece of wood and then a side piece of wood that are in addition to the whatever that top, in addition to the columns and that top part. So it's like it's not just two pieces of wood. It's triangles with a crossbar. So that, because that's what they did there. Yeah.
So this is no railing, but you have that.
So no, those there, I'm thinking of them as a pair. So if I,
Oh, I gotcha.
if I do the railing, I'll do that. If I don't do the railing, I won't, because I'll just keep it like
straight columns.
straight columns, yeah, which is around the neighborhood and is just kind of modern, sort of nothingness.
Those columns are gonna be 6x6, pressure treated, solid wood, and then wrapped with a fine pine. And you can add detail to that too, if you wanted to, like across the street, you could do a little more detail.
Yeah, but I wouldn't, I would just be, like, they would be.
So
added
you're
with
asking
two
us
parts.
to approve two options.
Yeah.
One is no railing, straight columns.
Which is in a way, an incremental step towards the other possibility. But also in its own right, good.
Or a combination of railing and curved elements as in
Yeah.
this side photograph, not the straight lines we're looking at in the sketch on your house.
Same.
Am I correct?
Well, they're both the same.
Which is same? I'm confused.
Okay, so this is an illustration of this. And this is an illustration of this. So they've got straight columns, and then they've got brackets that are built of its own piece.
I think the confusion is that you brought in the discussion of the corbels that going down the road, that
Oh,
if
yeah.
you did corbels at ultimately at the roof line, that you might bring that detail down to the porch.
Right.
But that's a separate, that's not.
Okay, and that is not what we are discussing
No,
today.
no.
Got it.
We're looking at,
Two
Either-
options, not four.
right.
Good.
Yeah. This was just sort of like telling the story of the plans for the future.
That's fine, I just need to understand what we're approving tonight.
Yeah, no, you're approving the porch as designed like this as one option, or the porch without the railings and without the little the angle piece
Triangle.
at the top.
Got it.
That's basically it.
As two
That's-
options for me, not two options to pick from you guys, but two options that I could pick from.
Yes, correct. And if you want to do corbels and something curved, you need to
That's
come
another
back and talk to
Yeah,
us.
right.
That's what I'm trying to understand.
I will point out that there is physical evidence of those corbels having been there. I've seen it in person. That would probably be more of a desk level review.
But if we're going to
Not on
do
the
that
porch.
and the porch, then you
Yeah.
get to come back.
Right.
Okay. So two options and two options only, that's right. All right, any further discussion or questions for either Dennis or Tanya? All right, then I'll entertain a motion to declare this a type 2 action under seeker. Thank you, Robert. Do I hear a second? Thank you, Kevin. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Kevin,
Aye.
Andrea,
Aye.
Nettie,
Aye.
Robert,
Aye.
and I also vote yes.
Thank you.
Hang on,
Okay,
that's just
feel.
seeker. Nice try, though. I see that we're getting option B written in. Right. I move that we find that the proposed rehabilitation and modifications at 102 Worth Street in the Rondell Historic District is done according to the plans reviewed at this meeting and according to the procedures stipulated in section 4 05-26 of the City of Kingston's form-based code is compatible with the historic character of the building in the district for the following reasons. The proposed work is to take place at the 1.5-story 3-bay house situated on the eastern side of Wirtz Street, roughly centered between Rogers and West Pierpont Streets, but closer to Rogers. A gable facing west, appearing on the 1870 Beers map of Rondout, Kingston, and Wilbur, having been built sometime before 1870 and after 1858, as it does not appear on the map of Ulster County of 1858 by J.H. French. That the existing porch base is in disrepair and requires rehabilitation and modifications to make it stable and more functional. That the floor structure shall be rebuilt with 2-inch by 8-inch beams following current building standards, which includes the installation of 14-inch sonotube footings. New steps shall be, if needed, shall be constructed of pressure-treated lumber to the same specifications and dimensions as the existing steps. New decking shall be 5/4-inch by 6-inch pressure-treated boards oriented in the same direction as existing decking. That all decking and columns shall be painted after the lumber cures to follow the color scheme previously approved by the HLPC in 2020. That the applicant shall direct the contractor to modify the porch with support by 4 6-by-6-inch pressure-treated columns equally spaced in front of the house. Columns may not have decorative cross pieces at the top of the columns if no railing is to be included. The new enclosed railing shall be removed and replaced with a crisscross style railing that conforms with Carpenter Gothic architectural style, if desired, and if height is, if desired, with height less than 30 inches height from grade. So that's our option. The two options are plain, no railing,
Or bracket.
and no bracket, or railing, bracket.
I have one.
Okay, paint colors, the new railings on the steps will be Weber 1-3 wrought iron finished handrails in black model LTF S 1.2, wow, MLZFS 00001 V0 from Lowe's. That's precise. Paint colors will match the previously approved colors for the house. Any changes or additions to the plans or work specifically described or outlined in the submitted application will be subject to further review by our commission prior to the work being carried out. Our commission's approval does not obviate the need for a building permit from the City of Kingston's Building Safety Division or any other required approvals from relevant coordinating agencies. Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that on this second day of November 2023, our commission grant a preservation notice of action to the above referenced applicant for the work as described herein and in her application to the commission. Such notice to be subject to the conditions contained in the foregoing motion. Do I hear a second? Thank you, Nettie. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call the roll. Kevin.
Did you have a question?
You said railings evenly spaced. I mean,
Columns.
columns are evenly spaced, but remember it's 75, 75, 92.
As shown, yeah.
That's shown.
Okay.
Symmetric.
So it's asymmetric.
The opening.
Okay, asymmetrically placed as presented. I will accept that. I will amend the motion to so read. Do I hear a second to my amendment?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call the roll on the motion as amended. Kevin.
Hi.
Andrea.
Aye.
Nettie.
Aye.
Robert.
Aye.
I also vote in the affirmative.
Thank
There.
you. And I'm gonna sign off. Dennis, thanks so much.
Sure, my pleasure.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I'm watching the rest.
Next up is a nomination or a recommended nomination for 52 St. James. The owner here is Miriam Lipson, and the recommendation is from Marissa Marvelli. And have folks had a chance to review her description? Everyone, please.
Yes, so I live in on one.
Yes.
No,
Okay. Again, am I the only one?
do we just?
No, we do not. There is an entire process to be gone through here. I believe it stays the same in the form-based code of, we have to,
The
there's a,
locally designated, yeah, there's a process.
right, and which would involve both us and the common council. And so we would accept, we'd have to set a public hearing, we'd have to have a public hearing on the recommendation. We would have to work on that, whether we were sending it to common council. Common council would have to vote to set this as a historic landmark for the city. There's a separate process for state and federal landmark status. And let me understand, are we being asked to just support a state?
This is to support the state in the national nomination, okay, right now. That's what they submitted for. So what we would need is for them to also just request local designation, which I'm sure they will if they get, once they get through this process.
So we're just saying, yeah, we agree.
Yeah,
Essentially, we're recommending to the state.
you're recommending to the state that it be approved and nominated for state and national recognition.
All right, so that we can do right here. If we want local designation, it has this two-step process it needs to go through.
So we're doing tonight the same, yes.
Right.
State, okay.
State and
And
national.
I would sort of invite them to go through the local process as well. And we
Sure.
did that.
So all in favor? No, is that how it works? No.
Pretty much.
There is a, yeah,
And I don't think we need to, this would be an unlisted action under seeker, right? We're just making,
type 2.
all right, so I need to do,
It's type 2.
yeah, all right. So I'll entertain a motion that we declare this a type 2 action under seeker. Thank you, and a second. Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Kevin,
Aye.
Andrea,
Aye.
and my apologies for going for the German pronunciation last time. Right, Andrea. Nettie, Robert, and I also vote yes.
I didn't notice that, and I was like, he must just be tired. It's okay.
I am, and you have to understand, my ex's name was Andrea.
Oh, no. That's like a Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, sorry. All right. And I will move that the commission finds fact that the proposed New York State National Register of Historic Places nomination for 52 St. James Street is consistent with the goals and missions of the historic programs of the city of Kingston and will provide for continued protection and preservation of this resource. The commission finds the following. The proposed nomination is for the William H. and Marion Romaine House, a 1.5-story wood frame house with eclectic, picturesque details that mostly reflect the Gothic Revival style. It was originally built around 1853 as a front gabled rectangular volume with 2 principal rooms and a sidewall. It was expanded with 2 symmetrical gabled side wings circa 1870. That the structure is significant under criterion C in the area of architecture as an intact example of mid-19th century Gothic Revival cottage that reflects strong association with the picturesque movement, which swept much of the nation in the decades before and after the Civil War and represented a departure from the predominant neoclassical style. Originally built circa 1853 as a single front gable volume by Edward Brink, a local architect and carpenter responsible for noteworthy buildings in the area, including the first Reformed Dutch Church of Kingston. The house was expanded around 1870 with symmetrical side wings. The expansion was undertaken by the Romains, a socially prominent Kingston couple who lived in the house from 1858 to 1880. As the editor and publisher of several Kingston newspapers, William Romaine was an influential voice in Whig and later Republican politics. The alterations made for the Romaines included not only the expansion of the original two-room and side hall floor plan, but also the addition of architectural embellishments, including an elaborately carved Gothic-style gable screen framed by chamfered trusses. No other known surviving example in Kingston has the same level of intricacy. Do we need to close the door? Okay. Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that on the second day of November 2023, the Commission grant a preservation notice of action to the above referenced applicant for the nomination to the State and Historic National Registers of Historic Places as described herein to the Commission. Do I hear a second? Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call the roll. Hi, Kevin.
Hi.
Andrea. Nettie.
I,
Aye from Robert, also an aye from me.
So we got a couple more things on this vein, moving forward. Wilbur and Pankaki Historic Districts, as you all know, we completed the intensive level surveys for both neighborhoods in it. And under that document, there are historic districts recommended for both of those neighborhoods. So Ethan's been working on looking for some grant funding to engage consultants. And we kind of broke it out. We talked to the consultant, Maria Auden from AHRS, who did the survey. She gave us some cost estimates. We're going to obviously look and see if there's others out there before we would submit any grant funding. But we talked about phasing it. So in the document here, you see how we might phase out some of the work to get done. Both neighborhoods at the meetings were enthusiastic about, moving these forward, progressing these forward. Even afterwards, we've had individuals reach out to us, when's this going to happen, kind of thing. There are, outside of the districts, there are some properties, a handful of them maybe in both that are, would be individually nominated, not within the district. Individual nominations are a lot more detailed than the districts. The districts, I think, are probably a lot less time-consuming work, but nevertheless, they require work. And it's skilled work that we need to engage a consultant. But we'd also look for participation by our commission members. And we would also probably, again, engage a PAC, which is a project advisory committee, if we get grant fundings, which we would need to do the project. So, you want to say anything or?
The thought that was suggested in a meeting with our consultant, Maria Auden, was that the existing report could be taken and used to hold another series of neighborhood meetings or one collective neighborhood meeting, and then taken and brought to this commission to establish 2 local historic districts, and then brought to the Common Council in January or February of next year, depending, after receiving community support and also receiving, written support from the individual owners, and created that way. Also done in tandem with the community and Common Council readopting the local historic preservation tax credit, That way, the new district property owners would be able to take advantage of that when they go and do upgrades. And in so doing that local designation, you would also be including the individually eligible properties outside of those districts. So it would be one large sweep that would include and accomplish on the local level what we've been seeking, but that would also then give us additional time to seek out grant funding for the state and national register.
Has there been any outreach to the aldermen for these districts?
The aldermen have been involved with the whole survey to begin with, both, and actually, both Shabbat and Hirsch are going to be reelected. They're running unopposed, so, and they are both very much in favor of the project.
That's great news, because that makes such a difference at common council level. Also, is there a minimum number of signatures required from district owners? Part of my brain is firing on 3, the other part is saying 10. I can't remember, it's been a long time.
Yeah, in the code, I think you're right. I mean, yeah.
I know there's a
I
minimum
know that
of landowners that have to sign off for this to work. But that's kind of secondary. Right now, all you need from us is yay! Yeah, this sounds great. And if you bring money in, more yays.
Commission shall consider for landmark or landmark district designation real property proposed by motion of any commission member or by owners of property or by written requests signed by 10 residents of the city of Kingston. Just interesting, you don't even have to be.
Live in the district.
Living in the district.
Oh.
How many, 1, 2?
Yeah, kind of interesting. But there's public hearing requirements, so obviously.
Yeah.
But I think, the idea of going to the neighborhoods again, back to the neighborhoods again first and kind of laying out this process, I think is, you're going to get the support that you need. I think so. Felt like that and get a lot of
Yeah,
opposition.
it's almost never unanimous, but.
And like Ethan was saying, reactivating and reinitiating that tax credit, the tax credit process for locally designated properties is something I think is very attractive. And, our goal obviously is to put in place measures to protect these resources. And right now there aren't any, really. I mean, it's voluntary only in these neighborhoods. But I think that presenting this work, like Maria did at the end of her work, in the neighborhoods, kind of opened people's eyes, and they realized, what, we were trying to say to them at some meetings. Like one gentleman was in Wilbur, and he understood after seeing the work. He said, "Now I know why you wanted me to save those chimneys."
Yeah.
He understood that, and so it served a purpose there. And he goes, "I'm happy that you did that, and now I'm really interested." So it kind of turns people around a little bit. You never know. I mean, some people are very, they get very cautious about, historic designation. So I think being able to offer them, like a tax credit incentive, you do it right, you can, there's a means to protect your property, and it does, it elevates the value of the property, I feel. You don't have to drain your wallet to do it. Yeah.
Or at least not.
And I think proposing them in tandem is a sign of, good faith. It's demonstrating that not only do we care about the resources and the community's heritage, but also we want to assist you. And certainly the interest was all further self-evident when the couple from Kentucky came last month or the previous month and just sought advice from the commission. Is that called the Monster House?
Yeah.
The one with the porch.
Yeah.
We were communicating. So.
Yeah. All right, well, that sounds exciting. I think especially if we can land a grant, And
Yeah, what we would ask is that, when these neighborhood meetings are set up, if your schedule does allow, we really would like the commission members to come to these meetings. We want to put faces on, on these commissions, and if they see you there, I think that helps also bridge communication, and they know you, the face. It's not just a board.
Yeah, one thing I would like to do, if and when we get a consultant, is to revisit some of the properties that were deemed not eligible, have a second look at them. I can think of one that got chopped off, that was deemed eligible on the first go-round, and after the Pankaki meeting, it just dropped out. And that was the house that across the street from me, which is the third oldest house in Pankaki. It's documented. And it has a cellar hearth, and Judy the League wrote it up. I mean, that's just one example.
Just outside the boundary, right? You want to move the boundary?
No, it has vinyl siding, so the consultant just went.
Yeah.
And that was,
Consultant
yeah,
didn't do interior.
right. And they couldn't do
Inspections
interior.
because it just was.
It's all vinyl,
outside.
1960s.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was also some of the industrial ruins were chopped out, not the church ones,
Right, the mule barn.
not the mule barn, no. But the, like where the Kingston Land Trust site, for example, in Wilbur, it was Briggs's Cement, and then later Kingston Lyman Cement, and there's ruins right there. And then she just went, ruins. Kingston's full of ruins. I was like, no, cement is part of our history. I think we'd like to revisit that. And then there was another house from one of the project. What I'm gonna have to do is go through that map I just had and compare it to the April map and see which ones got dropped out. This is like a consistency review between the first report, the second report, the final report, and see what's missing there.
what about the cave?
The one
Oh,
on
yeah.
In Pankaki, the former.
They were outside the boundary of her, the
Okay.
area that we
I was
had
wondering about
identified.
that's such a unique and crazy
Yeah.
sort of thing. And it's not a structure, really. So I've often
Well,
wondered.
actually, it's inside. There are structures inside the cave.
Oh, that
Are they
we can
still, are
do.
they still existing? Okay.
You can't see them because
No.
they're protecting the bats, but
An asshole, come down from stories and chase you out.
Itemized list. Can you send me like an itemized list of the properties?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go finish going
Yeah.
through this. I just did this really fast back in early September when it came out. And I just was like, oh, that.
I think, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a full consistency.
Yeah, because we could consider, ways of including them,
Yeah,
when the time comes. On the local level,
yeah, there's one that was outside of that wasn't reviewed at all, but I've since come to become familiar with it. It's the Mason Hill Farm. Yeah, that has some architectural detail that's still there. I mean, it's a vernacular structure, but it wasn't included at all.
Is that the property for sale now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of inquiries about it.
Yeah.
All right. Any other business to come before the board?
Fair Street.
Fair Street, right.
Yes.
So, in discussions, we felt that the HLPC should consider elevating the Fair Street district to a state and national registered district. And it's our understanding that a Preserve New York grant had been submitted in the past and it was denied at the time. And we think that it would be worthwhile for the city to reapply for that grant. I think the maximum award is $14,000, and we feel that would cover the certification of that district, which is the term the process that would be used for it. We think that so the period opens in January and then it would close in March. So we think that holding another community or neighborhood meeting sometime in mid to late January would be good, to try and engage support from those residents, and then proceed with that grant. And staff will be meeting with Preservation League staff and also individuals from SHPO to learn more about our previous application and specific steps we want to take in accomplishing that hopefully in the course of the next year.
Basically, what didn't score well in the last application is what we want to know.
Where do we need to start?
What can we do to boost it and elevate the application under the current criteria and maybe make it a successful application this time around?
And the key thing about this is, so certain properties within Fair Street are individually listed on the state national, but a number of them are not, so they're not eligible for tax incentives, and this would open, all of the properties within that district to wider tax incentives.
That's a good sales point. Yeah,
What happened, the previous go around, I worked on that grant with Marissa. And, I think Kingston Land Trust is the sponsor. And we were working with Andrew Wright, but that sort of fell apart about halfway through it. And we just submitted it anyway. So it had some complexity, so I'm not sure how that worked out in the terms of the point grading and all that. And doing it, but I don't believe they told Marissa what had happened.
Okay, well, I
We did a site tour, walked the whole district, looked at every house and did all of that, but it seemed positive, but then, they have a lot of applications, and I just didn't had something that was more positive than positive,
Right.
And Neil Larson was proposed to be the consultant on that. He's worked in Kingston before.
so what was the timing on this? I'm trying to remember.
Whatever, around 2018, 2019, it was pre-COVID. I tend to like things in the pre-COVID.
Yes.
The before times.
Yeah, back in the day. Right.
All right, anything else? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Andrea.
Do I hear a second? All right. I will call the roll. Kevin.
Aye.
Andrea.
Aye.
Denny.
Aye.
Robert. I also vote yes. We stand adjourned. Yay. Well, this is exciting. Lots of new stuff.